President, please be seated. Next, the floor is given to the lead co-lawyer for civil party to resume the questioning.
I have no problem, but
just a second.
President, you can have the floor now, Judge Lamagna.
Oui, merci, Monsieur.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Just so that things are absolutely clear, for the parties this afternoon, there are two sessions. The first session will be accorded to the civil parties so that they can finish their questioning, and the co-prosecutors so that they can carry out their questioning, and the last session after that will be given to the defense to finish their questioning between the two teams. Just so things are clear. Thank you.
but I wasn't finished yet. I was in the middle of my questioning. So I think it might be the best way that I finish my questions, and then I suppose civil party and prosecution, and then ending all this will be Kiss upon the defense team. I think that makes the most sense. Hearing nothing, I presume that is the way to go forward.
Just wait a second, Council, please.
President, Counsel for Mr. Nunjie, you may now resume your questioning.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon again, Mr. Civil Party. Let me continue with my questions in relation to the events in May, June 78. If I understand your testimony correctly, you said the uprising in the East Zone started in this period, and you're not aware of any earlier attempts to stage rebellions, or you don't know anything about Vietnam's role. Let me get back to this and ask you something. What you said in your in your civil party application, Part B, E3/6859, English 0131274, and Khmer 00571255. I don't believe I have French, but it says in 1976 until 1978, an idea to struggle against the regime was instigated in the East Zone in Preveng province. I joined this struggle movement led by Sao Pim. In 1978, the movement failed and Sao Pim committed suicide. End of quote. Your answers, or what you say here, seems to imply that the idea to struggle against the regime was instigated between 1976 and 1978. So a long time before the events in May 78. Can you clarify that, please?
Answer. Before the event, I had not been aware of that movement. It was later on that I learned about it. 1 week later, I learned about that.
Let me see if I can try it differently. In your WRI E3/9467, between question and answer 9 and 15, you talk about events in 1976 and in Preveng province. You were sent to dig canals there. But in question and answer 12, or at least the question talks about tempering of troops. You said the army of some, the question is, you said that tempering troops, whose troops? And then you answer the army of Samdech Sihanouk. It was like a killing because a unit of about 100 people was given only 3 cans of rice to eat. I'm not sure if I understand what is being said there, but you're talking about tempering troops, or at least that's what the interrogator speaks about. What were troops in the East Zone tempered between 76 and 78?
Answer. From 1976 to 1978, soldiers were being tempered. I mean, the Liberation Army, members of this army were tempered. And they were given only 3 cans of rice. In fact, they used cups to measure the rice. That a cup was American made. The 3 cans of rice were given to 100 of soldiers. The meal was so watery, so we had to mix the meal or dishes with 3 leaves. And we were also forced to overwork. that the location was rich in mine. I mean the land. Under the land there were a lot of mines, and different kinds of mines were under the ground at the location. Some of us died because of the explosion while digging the ground. We, all of us, some of us died one after another while we were digging the canals, and we could not even build the road because of the land condition at Prey Veng province. The land was so solid, although we used our energy to dig the ground or soil. We had to use the iron bar, in order to break the hard ground. We were assigned to dig canals on a daily basis, and at the same time build the roads. And we were given quota to work on. So the quota is 3 meters. The dimension is 3 meters that we had to dig the canal, and the depth was 3 meters, 1 meter rather. And we were told to finish our assignment in 1 day.
Thank you, Mr. Silpart. Let me interrupt you. I apologize for interrupting, but are you saying that you, as a former East Zone combatant, were tempered by other East Zone forces? Because this digging of canals happened in Prey Veng, which was part of the East Zone, correct?
Answer. The Eastern Zone soldiers were assigned to dig the canals.
Right. Now, let me try one more time to see if I can get some information from you in relation to Vietnam and the role of Vietnam. It is, let me try it like this. It is the position of the prosecution that by February 1978, the Vietnamese made plans to overthrow the DK government. There is an expert who has testified in the trial against Duik, who states that plans to overthrow the DK government through a coup d'etat started already in September or October 77. Have you heard anything in 1977 or 78 about plans of Vietnam to overthrow the DK government? And let me maybe make it easier for you, and let me read to you something that the brother of Heng Samrin said, and I'll ask you a reaction. That is, Mr. President, E3/2376, English ERN, that's the book of Nayan Chanda, English ERN 00192440, French 00237111, Khmer 00191597. It's page 255. It says that Heng Samrin's elder brother, Heng Samkai, another Eastern Zone leader, had already made it to Vietnam. He helped in the liaison, refers to the liaison between Vietnam and East Zone forces. And then he says, we had come to realize that it was impossible to overthrow Pol Pot on our own. We had to seek Vietnamese help. As the chairman of the Eastern Zone couriers, who carried messages back and forth between party units as well as to Vietnam, he had long known the Vietnamese. Making it to the border in January '78, he was flown to Ho Chi Minh City in a Vietnamese helicopter. He and other Khmer Rouge defectors assembled in the former police training school at Tu Duc. Have you, what the brother of Heng Samrin saying, is that something that somehow might jog your memory?
Answer: in that decade, as I have repeatedly said, I was not aware of it. Because at the time I was simply a rank and file soldier or combatant in my unit. I was not aware of certain matters during the time that the elder brother of Heng Samrin went to make contact with the Vietnamese in 1978.
Maybe these people are too high up in the rank for you, I understand that. But let me ask you, did you hear Vietnamese radio broadcasts sometime in 1978 calling upon anyone in democratic Kampuchea to rise against the regime? Did you hear radio broadcasts from Vietnam?
Answer: at the time I had no possession of a radio communicator. I was simply a combatant. I was not given a radio communicator. I would perform the tasks as ordered to me and other rank and file soldiers.
Let me see if I can try it yet in another way. Again, reading from Chanda, E3/2376, English ERN 001-92381, French 00237064, Khmer 001915529. It says the following: a later official Vietnamese account reveals that preparations for the most important coup attempt against the Pol Pot regime began in November 1977. Dissident Khmer Rouge cadres of the Eastern Zone had started building secret food reserves in the jungle, but no date was set for the uprising. End of quote. Mr. Civil Party, did you know anything about secret food reserves being built up in the jungle as of November 77?
Your Honor, may I just make a comment? I think it's rather misleading not to indicate that what Nyan Chanda is speaking about here is what is written in the Black Book. The Black Book was authored by the Khmer Rouge leadership. This is their version of what happened.
I believe it's the actual opposite. I don't have the footnote right here, but it's from the Kampuchea dossier. It's the Vietnamese dossier. It's not the DK government, but it's the opposite. So it is actually a Vietnamese source. Mr. Civil Party, secret food reserves in the jungle as of November 77. Does that somehow jog your memory?
Answer. I am not aware of it. The location where I was living was a bit away from other locations, so I was not aware at the time about the location of secret food reserve.
Well, the reason I'm asking you is in question and answer 19 of your WRI E3/9467, you did know, you did seem to know where Sao Pim and the others got their weapons from in the uprising, or the coup d'etat, or whatever you want to call it. The question is, where did Sao Pim get the weapons? And then you answered the weapons were from the zone warehouse because they had been collected and stored there. Did you say that, and how did you know that?
Answer. I did not know at the time where he got the weapons from. The weapons which were given to my unit were used by us, and we were stationed at Mebon, in the north side of Mebon. Again, I do not know where the weapons were taken from.
What weapons were necessary for the uprising, but surely also food to feed the combatants. Where did the food come from after Sao Pim called for the uprising, after he agitated or incited you? Where did the food for you and your fellow combatants come from?
Answer. As for food supply in my unit, the unit itself did not know where the food supply was taken from. The food supply was given by the logistics unit, and we cooked meals by using those supplies to eat. We would cook a meal based on what we had, I mean the supply that we were given.
You talked about 8,000 people joining the movement. That's a lot of mouths to feed. I believe Uk Boon Chun spoke about 20,000 civilians joining the movement. Do you have any idea how the logistics in terms of food was organized after 25th of May 1978?
Answer: I do not know about that. Since I was simply a low-level combatant, I had no reason to find out what was going on in the upper level. What I know is that my unit was given with a food supply. Since we were stationed at that location, I do not know where the food supply was taken from for a lot of mouths to feed.
I understand that you're saying that you're a low-level combatant, but what exactly did you mean in answer 15 of your WRI E3/9467 when you said, quote unquote, Sao Pim arranged for me to be positioned along National Road 15, end of quote. Sao Pim arranged for me to be positioned along National Road 15. What did you mean when you said that to the investigator?
Answer: Indeed, I received an order from my unit head to position at that location. I did not really receive a direct order from Sao Pim. I got the order from my commander, the low-level commander of my unit. So usually there was a chain of command. The orders would go through the hierarchical order. The order would be sent to the head of the group of 10 people, for example, and then it would come down to low-level combatants. So I do not know where the order was coming from. What I got was the order that I received from my direct head of my unit.
I understand, Mr. Civil Party. You're the only witness that we have, so I need to ask you those questions. Let me ask you a very final question, going back to what I asked you earlier about referring to your civil party application that where you said in 76, 78 an idea to struggle against the regime was instigated in the East Zone in Preveng province. In E3/1568, English ERN 00551889, Khmer 0071396 and French 00743361. Daheng Samrin, whom you mentioned, said that in 1976-77, quote unquote, we had a struggle, but a secret one. But at that time it was tight and cramped. There was no opportunity to rise up and struggle. Even Tapim had to struggle. He used to say we will have further bloodshed, but there was no opportunity. End of quote. Do you know anything about words like secret struggle, or do you know anything about the secret struggle that Daheng Samrin talks about that took place in 76 and 77?
I was not aware of the statement made by Sopham during that year about the statement that you made that he has to collaborate with the Vietnamese troops.
It was actually a statement of Da Heng Samrin, the one commander of Division 4 that you knew. But the words secret struggle don't mean anything to you. Is that correct?
I do not think of the view by Heisenberg regarding the resistance, since I did not hear what he might have said at the time, so I cannot make any further comment on this issue.
Thank you, Mr. Civil Party. Thank you, Mr. President.
President, thank you, Defense Counsel for Noon Chia. And I would like now to hand the floor to the lead co-lawyer for civil parties to put the question to the civil party.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, civil party. I have a few very short questions, follow-up questions to put to you regarding marriage, which you spoke about this morning. You said that you got married together with 61 other couples, and I wanted to know if you were explained why you had to get married then. Was any kind of explanation provided to you?
I received news from the Big Cell unit and the mobile unit's chief that before the day of the marriage, Angka organized and selected my name for the marriage day. That's all I knew.
And were you explained why people would get married? What was the reason that was given to you?
They did not provide any detailed explanation on the issue. What they said was the announcement of the day for me to get married, that Angka required us to marry. And they spoke about this set number of people to married on that to get married on that particular day.
This morning you spoke about the marriage ceremony. Do you remember who chaired that ceremony?
I recalled that there was a chief of the big cell group or the chief of a company, and compared to the current structure, that is chief of the commune, and then there were a female chief of the 4 female mobile units who participated in the marriage ceremony, and there was also a unit chief who participated in the ceremony.
Do you remember if you were obliged to say something during that ceremony, and if yes, can you tell the chamber what you said?
At 3 o'clock in the afternoon that day, at the venue for the wedding ceremony, there were only 2 lotuses on the table, and a line of women was formed, and there were 2 lines of men. Rather, there were 2 lines for both the men and the women. And during the ceremony, they said that Angka organized the marriage for us so that we would become husbands and wives. And that was the instruction from the upper echelon. And we were not required to make any resolution. What they did was simply to call a person from the men's group and and a woman from the female group to be introduced as husband and wife. And I could not recognize who had to marry who. In fact, they had to look into our biographies, and if the biographies match, then we would allow to marry that woman. And the chief of the company actually had the biographies to refer to. Let me give you an example. If we were a soldier from the East Zone, and the woman also had her relative or siblings who also was a soldier, then we were a match.
And once the ceremony was over, did you spend the first night with your wife?
After the conclusion of the marriage ceremony, I was allowed to live with my newly wed wife that night. But we both did not love one another. Although we were sleeping in the same house, we did not have a feeling for one another at all.
Were you monitored? Were you watched during that first night or during the other nights that you spent with your wife?
When the company chief or the unit chiefs organize such a wedding, they would deploy militiamen to monitor the newlywed couples. They actually had a list of those militiamen to go and monitor the newly couples, and if the newlywed couples, did not consummate the marriage, then they would take measures. Although I did not know what measures they would take. As for me personally, I did not touch her during the first night, nor did I touch her during the second night. Only days after that, I had a feeling toward her, that I had a pity for her.
When you say, and this will be my last question, that measures were taken against people who would refuse to consummate their marriages, did you know people who were sanctioned, who were punished for not having consummated their marriage?
At the time, I did not know which measures or which sanctions were imposed. Only later did I learned through those who got married at the same function, at the same ceremony that I got married, that some of them were accused of being traitors, that they opposed the policy of Angkar. That is the only information that I received from those who got married at the same time. As for me, due to my biography, I didn't dare to do anything contradicting to the policy of the upper echelon, since I did not want to make any further offense. And I had to just fulfill whatever tasks I was assigned to do.
Thank you very much, Civil Party. Thank you, Mr. President. I have no further questions.
Co-prosecutor, you have the floor now.
Thank you. Sir, just to continue with this topic for a bit, did you and the woman you were forced to marry know each other before the wedding?
No, I did not know her before that. I had been a soldier for a long time, until the time that I was reassigned to work in the mobile unit. Only a day before the marriage ceremony, my unit told me about the proposed marriage, and the name was mentioned, that is, her name was mentioned. And then I tried to I tried to see who she was, because I only knew of her name, and then I found her.
Do you know how old she was at the time?
Are you asking about my age or about her age?
Her age. Please repeat the answer.
not know her age at the time.
Do you know if she was younger than you?
I only saw her briefly before the marriage, and from her appearance, she looked younger than me.
Before the ceremony or during the ceremony, or at any of the political meetings you might have attended, was there any discussion about children, about the need to grow the population of Cambodia?
After the marriage was organized for us, the time gap was not that far, because at that time we were also under constant attack from the Vietnamese troops.
Okay, perhaps my question was not clear. Let me try it once again. What I'm asking is, at the ceremony or at any other time, did the cadre ever speak to you and to others about the need to have children, that these marriages should produce children?
They didn't hold any meeting to disseminate that information. However, through the company chief and the chief of the mobile unit, who told me about the marriage, however, they did not mention that we had to produce any children. The main focus was for us to get married.
Did you ever speak to this woman that you were forced to marry about how she felt at that time about being forced into that ceremony?
At that point in time, I did not speak to her about that. And during the first night, I spoke to her that we both had not so good biography, and she also had her relatives who worked as soldiers under South Pum supervision in the East Zone, and that I was also a soldier from the East Zone. And since we were organized to become a husband and wife, there was nothing we could do, and that we should just follow the instruction and orders of Angka, because otherwise Angka may accuse us of being traitors, or being enemy rather, and we should adhere to all plans imposed by Angka.
Okay, thank you. Just so it's clear, I'm not too clear about the timing of the marriage, but did this happened after the attempt to fight off the forces that were attacking the Eastern Zone and after you were arrested and detained? Is that correct?
No, they did not mention about soldiers from the East Zone during the marriage ceremony. However, to me it seems that they rush to get us married. They should allow us time to understand each other and each other's feelings first. Because during this multi-couple ceremony, they only spent 2 lotuses. Nothing else was involved, and that was far off the tradition that we used to. However, this is my personal understanding, but personally I did not have any other feeling regarding the East Zone soldiers.
But the wedding, did it take place when you were still in Prey Vang, or did this happen after you were sent to Persat?
The marriage was organized for me in Prey Vang. I fled from Svay Rieng to Prey Vang, and I stayed in Prey Cho Cooperative near Pratit Pagoda. And the marriage ceremony was held at the kitchen hall in the cooperative. And the kitchen hall was situated near Pratit Pagoda.
You talked about the mobilization. I'm switching topics now. You talked about mobilizing people in the Eastern Zone to resist, that you received some information from Sao Pim to resist, you said, the Southwest and the West forces. Did Sao Pim or your commander give you any other information about what the goal of the resistance was? Was it just to defend yourselves there in the east, or was it to go anywhere else?
When I left Koh Cave Island, Sao Pim himself said the Southwest and the West soldiers came to surround the East Zone soldiers with the aim of killing them. And members from 2 divisions in Svay Rieng, namely their divisional commanders, were arrested and killed. He raised this matter at around 5 o'clock in the afternoon one day, and of course regarding the timing here is based on my estimate and by looking into the sun. And then they said that those soldiers were sent to kill East Zone soldiers, and that we had to rearm ourselves to fight against those Southwest and West soldiers. And if we dared to rise up, then we had to unite as one. And I could say that I was kind of forced to involve in the movement because I no longer had any feelings to engage in any war. So I went along with the rest. And that was the only plan that we received directly from him. And later on, instructions came from our group leaders that we had to station ourselves along the national road.
Thank you. Do you recall if Sao Pim indicated why he thought the eastern zone was being attacked?
He spoke about soldiers in the division which is stationed along the border in Spiraean province, and that the divisional commanders were called for a meeting by the Southwest and West groups, and when they came, they disappeared. So Sao Pim knew about that, and he disseminated that information to my group, and that we had to gather forces, even those who had been hospitalized or wounded.
Thank you. You answered my question. Let me see if this refreshes your recollection at all, if it sounds familiar. This is from E3/5531. It's a statement of a person by the name of Mias Son. And in answer 62, he said that on 25 May 78, there was an arrest of all travelers along National Road number 7. And then he said, in the afternoon, I received a letter from Sao Pim through Sam, Sao Pim's former chauffeur. The letter said to comrades Sao and Son at the lathing workshop, please have the force ready to fight to protect our force from being captured. Based on our estimate, there must be a military coup led by Sun Sen to topple the party's secretary and deputy secretary. So, sir, does that ring any bell with you, refresh your recollection? Did Sao Pim indicate that he thought the forces attacking the eastern zone were attempting to do a coup against Pol Pot?
At that point in time, I was stationed at Koh Kao Island, and when I was transferred from Koh Kao, I arrived in Pravai province at around 1 o'clock, and at that location, Sao Pim organized a meeting in late afternoon, and during the meeting, he spoke about the forces from the southwest and the west to the east zone in order to kill us, the soldiers. And for that reason, he asked us what we want to do, whether we want to be killed or we want to rise up.
Thank you. In that answer, he goes on to say that Sao Pim told him Sao Pim would go to Phnom Penh to discuss the issue because he had heard from the radio that Pol Pot and Nun Chea would go to see the chairman of Burma's Communist Party at the airport. Do you recall Sao Pim at the meeting that you remember saying anything that he would go and speak to Pol Pot?
Answer. I do not know about that, simply because I was a rank and file soldier.
Let me ask you then about your mother and your siblings. You said that you lost your mother and many other family members. Where did they die?
Answer. My mother and siblings died in Sraung Cooperative at Tutalo. In fact, not all of them died at that location. Some died at Tulchre Talo. The two locations were the hot battlefield, and there was a dense forest, and there were lions and wolves as well in those forests. So they had the chances or opportunities to kill the people. As for my relatives and nephew and nieces, more than 50 of them died at those locations.
The two locations you mentioned, are they both in Pursat province? And did this happen in 1978?
Yes, that is true. They were in Posat, and that happened in 1978.
When you say that they died or were killed, how were they killed? Do you know? And can you tell us if you know why they were killed?
Answer. They were killed at those locations under the accusation that they were UN enemies, and that people from the East had links with the UN. So their plan was to kill all of them.
This may sound, I don't want this to sound offensive, Mr. Witness, but let me just ask the question. Did your mother or sister, were they conspiring with Vietnam against the Cambodian people? Did you have any such information?
Regarding the information, they had tricks. I mean, Khmer Rouge had their own tricks. They did whatever they could in order to kill people. I was there together with others, and we were strictly blamed that we were enemies since they had planned to kill all of us. They did not want to keep anyone survive.
Was there any way when you were in Pursat province for people from the East to be recognized? Was there anything about their clothing or otherwise that made it possible for the cadre to recognize Easterners?
answer. They could recognize. They could be recognized based on their own clothing and kroma or scarf, and also because of the short sleeve khaki shirts. The short sleeve khaki shirts were given through the Eastern Zone people when they were sent from Phnom Penh. By looking at the clothing, they could be recognized as the people from the Eastern Zone. So the Eastern Zone people could be distinguished very clearly. People at Po Sat really love the blue scarf or kromas. However, our unit chief told us not to give kroma, the blue kroma or scarves, to any other who requested for them. And I myself did not give my kroma to the requester.
This could be a good time to break, Your Honor, if you wish, or I could go on. I'd like to play a short video clip. I can either do it before or after I can do it now, then. Mr. Witness, when you were...
President, you may proceed, co-prosecutor.
Were you ever sent to Bakan district?
Answer. I was once sent to Bakan district, the upper part of Bakan.
You talked about that in your statement, so I'd like you to look at this video clip, which will be on the screen in front of you. It's from Enemies of the People, E3/4001R, beginning at 4320. Mr. Witness, I want you to look at the people and tell me if you recognize any of them.
President, AV officials or staff members, could you please project the video on the screens?
Vì trongระบอบមួយអីចឹងគេធ្វើបាបក្នុងระបอบមួយតអញ្ចឹងណាចាគេធ្វើបាបមិនបងប្អូនតែយកទៅដាក់គុកដាក់សង្វាក់អីទៅចាបាទខ្លាចតែគាត់មិននិយាយដែរហ្នឹងប៉ុន្តែដល់ទៅឃើញថាឃើញខ្ញុំដឹងថាបើខ្ញុំទៅបើគាត់លាក់ក៏នៅខ្ញុំនិយាយព្រោះគាត់មីខ្ញុំកូនគាត់បងខូនក៏បានទទួលបញ្ជាពីបងឲ្យដើម្បីដោះស្រាយទូកម្ពុជាក្រមឬមួយអ្នកផ្សេងដែលថាមានបញ្ហាណាតើបញ្ហានេះយ៉ាងណាតើបងបានទទួលបញ្ជាពីអ្នកណាដែរចាខ្ញុំបានទទួលបញ្ជាពីថ្នាក់លើមកដែរថ្នាក់ដូចធ្នូថ្នាក់ខេត្តអីពីលើមកពីប្រទេសមកខ្ញុំបានប្រជុំមួយគាត់ទេខ្ញុំធ្វើគ្មានចិត្តឯងទេចាហ្នឹងគេឲ្យពិនិត្យដែរហ្នឹងពិនិត្យខ្សែខាងលើមកពីហ្នឹងមកយួនអីមានប្រកបមានអីចឹងធ្វើសកម្មភាពគេឲ្យស៊ើបគេយ៉ាងម៉េចឲ្យដោះស្រាយដែរយ៉ាងម៉េចបាទអ្នកការណែនាំឲ្យដោះស្រាយដែរនឹងដោះស្រាយអ្នកណាដែលវាមានខ្សែអីមកពីនោះហ្នឹងគឺយើងដោះស្រាយដែរហ្នឹងយើងធ្វើដូចគ្នាណាបងចាស្រាយតាមតែខ្សែដោះស្រាយតាមខ្សែតាមអីកាលហ្នឹងដែលយើងរកឃើញពុកក្បត់ដែលដោះស្រាយប្រហែលប្រហែលដែរបងកាលទាំងប្រហែលហើយអត់ចាំផងយកពីនោះមកកជើមកយកពីនោះកន្លះកតាំងទៅយកពីនោះមកអីទៅអាហ្នឹងដឹងមែនណាពុកសួនអត់ដឹងទេខ្ញុំ ដែលបងបានធ្វើនៅពេលនោះរហូតដល់នេះតើបងមានការអារម្មណ៍ក្នុងចិត្តបងមានការសោកស្ដាយឬក៏មិនសោកស្ដាយទេយល់ថាអ្វីដែលយើងធ្វើគឺត្រឹមត្រូវបាទ
ជាអារម្មណ៍ឃើញថាក្រោយពីមានបញ្ហាអនុវត្តរួចឃើញថាមានការសោកស្ដាយយ៉ាងខ្លាំងចាចំពោះអ្វីដែលធ្វើទៅចំបញ្ហាក៏ឃើញថាខ្លួនអត់សោកស្ដាយទេប៉ុន្តែចំពោះធ្វើទៅមិនចំបញ្ហាឃើញថាមានដកនៅក្នុងអារម្មណ៍ប្រចាំជីវិតចា
ដូចថាបងមានអារម្មណ៍យ៉ាងម៉េចដែរដូចថាខូនក៏មិនដែលធ្លាប់ប្រព្រឹត្តអីទៅលើមនុស្សណាបាទសម្រាប់អីចឹងណាពេលដល់គាត់បានទទួលបទបញ្ជានឹងទៅគាត់បានធ្វើណាបាទណាអញ្ចឹងដូចថាបងបានទទួលបទបញ្ជាមកធ្វើហើយបញ្ជាទៅលើគាត់ហើយតើបងមានអារម្មណ៍យ៉ាងម៉េចមើលសំបងបញ្ជាបន្តិចណាអានេះយើងនិយាយជាស្មោះត្រង់ទេណាបាទណាកុំទៅថា
អាហ្នឹងជាអារម្មណ៍គឺខុសទាំងអស់គ្នាហ្នឹងហើយបើធ្វើតាមគេបើអត់ធ្វើវាខុសចាវាងាប់ហើយបើធ្វើដល់ហ្នឹងខុសទាំងអស់គ្នាអាណិតគ្នាតនឹងធ្វើម៉េចបើវាចឹងហើយហ្នឹងមកដល់ពេលនេះក៏មានអីជ្រើសរើសទេចា
ខ្ញុំទទួលពីគាត់ទទួលពីអញ្ចឹងខ្ញុំទទួលពីតំបន់ទទួលពីនេះមកមិនដឹងជាអាណាមេធំជាងគេ
ដឹងអាណាល្អជាងគេយើងណាទៅត្រូវជាងគេ
អញ្ចឹងខ្ញុំថា
ឥឡូវបបោលពួកយើងទៅដាក់គុកទៀតទៅដល់ម៉េច
ទៅតាមតំណទៅជាប់គុកហ្នឹង
Mr. Witness.
President, you may have the floor now. Counsel for Mr. Nunjia.
Thank you, Mr. President. Of course, I had to wait until the video clip was shown in order to be able to make an objection. The video clip is about the alleged killing of Kampuchea Krom, translated into English as quote-unquote ethnic minority. The alleged killing of Kampuchea Krom in the northwest zone is outside of the scope of this trial, not only of 2-2 but also of the closing order. So I think the prosecution is trying to use evidence for cases 3 and 4, which I understand, but he should be prohibited from doing that here. So I object. The video clip is outside the scope of this trial.
Your Honor, the purpose I'm offering it is regards to the killing of Eastern.
President, please wait, Mr. Co-Prosecutor.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to join my co-counsel in that objection, especially because we did not have any knowledge of the possible use of this video excerpt by the prosecution. It's true that the video could have been downloaded from the interface, but the general practice is that one sends an email saying we'd like to use this video. So we found out about it just at the hearing. We would have been able to place our objection sooner if we had known that the video would have been used. So our objection is raised at this point because we didn't know that it was planned to be used. And also my co-counsel's objection contained these elements. Thank you.
Your Honor, I put it on the list of documents for today's hearing. I believe I did personally. So counsel could have had notice by reading that. But the relevance of this to this witness, the reason I'm asking this witness to look at it is because of the killing of Eastern Zone people in that province and in that district that he talks about in his statement, and as part of the killing of enemies. And it's part of the joint criminal enterprise. I believe it's paragraph 202 or 201 of the closing order.
The video clip doesn't say anything about East Zone people. My command is very limited, but I did hear the woman say Kampuchea Krom, translated as quote-unquote ethnic minority. That is, of course, done for the people who aren't aware of the situation during DK. But to now transform it from Kampuchea Krom into East Zone people, that is stretching it way too far.
The Eastern Zone people comes from his statement, where the same individuals are named as being involved in the killing. I'm not interested in asking him about the killing of Kampuchea Krom right now. I'm asking him at the moment just did he recognize the individuals involved who do talk about how they got orders and followed orders, including killing.
President, it is now time for a short break. The chamber will take a short break from now until 3:10. The court is now in recess.